Alabama's good. I just don't think they're great anymore. And here's a stat that I think you'll like, Colin. I think 9-3 is going to prove to be a prescient prediction there. Last 4 games that Alabama's played against top 15 opponents, they have given up in 3 of those games 44, 42, and 43 points. 43 to Ole Miss, 42 to Ohio State in the playoff loss, and 44 to Auburn in the Iron Bowl, even though they won. The only one of those top 15 opponents in the last 4 that they've played and dominated is Missouri. I think that reflects the game changing substantially on Nick Saban's watch.
Yep.
And the dynasty at Alabama has changed. But even in those games, they won 2 of them, but they had to beat Auburn 55-44. Nick Saban's not into these games where you have to win them 55-44. And he tried to evolve. He saw the game changing around him. He went and hired Lane Kiffin and said, score me points. But that Alabama dynasty, which began, I think this is going to be a good capstone, Colin. That dynasty began in Georgia when they went in against the number 1 Bulldog team and got up like 35-0 on the road in Athens. They were trying to black it out. Their strength coach was walking around. It was Nick Saban's second year. The strength coach for Alabama, who's become a superstar in his own right, was walking around saying they're wearing black because it's going to be a GD funeral. And he was right. And from that moment until I think Georgia's going to beat Alabama on October 3rd, it'll be a nice capstone, that 7-year window of dominance for Alabama. Alabama's good, but they're not going to be a different level of team than anybody else in the SEC, I think, for the foreseeable future.
Well, I mean, they hired Lane Kiffin, who became kind of a running joke out west, and suddenly, because Nick's so smart, we think it'll solve all the issues. You know, here's the thing. If you look at the history of college football, you get about 6 to 7 years, Pete Carroll, Urban at Florida, Mac Brown, and then you lose good assistants. You make a bad hire. When I look at Alabama, here's what I see. They haven't been able to pivot. And I think this happens to great companies. They're still a coin flip on special teams, and they've got one receiver I like. I think they're pedestrian at quarterback. Could I make the argument that if you go back to Nick Saban's career, Michigan State, Miami Dolphins, LSU, by and large, Nick won on running and defense. He's never developed great quarterbacks, and that's what it takes now.
100% true. I think the game has changed, and Nick Saban has not been able to change with the game. And the crazy thing about it is, Colin, he's recruited really high-end, at least rated quarterbacks at Alabama. And for the most part, they really haven't panned out. Now, let's give A.J. McCarron credit. He was there for a long time, and he was Saban's guy, and they had a great run. But A.J. McCarron was what did he get drafted, the 4th or 5th round, whatever it was. It wasn't like NFL scouts saw him and said, my God, this guy's a can't-miss prospect. Now, Saban did recruit Jamarcus Russell. And got him for a year, and then left him to Les Miles to be able to have some success for. But in terms of coaching, he just hasn't been able to do a good job with it. And I think that's why he went and got Lane Kiffin, because you can criticize Lane Kiffin for a lot, but typically that guy has been able to get the most out of a quarterback, whether it was Jonathan Crompton at Tennessee when everybody said Crompton was broken, or Blake Sims, honestly, last year at Alabama, who had never played before, was a fifth-year senior, and he got them to within a hair of a championship last year. The difference is this year, I think Cooper Bateman and Jacob Coker are just not that great. And unlike last year when you had Amari Cooper to rely on at the wide receiver position, he was all everything. Alabama's, like you said, pretty pedestrian at the wide receiver position. Derrick Henry's a great running back, but he's not a running back necessarily that's going to get you a 3rd and 2 every play. He's going to get you 20 yards, or he's going to get you stopped at the line of scrimmage. I just think this is a difficult Alabama team to figure out. And again, the game having changed, I think Georgia will handle them, and I think Alabama will lose another game. I'm not sure who it'll be to, but I think they'll go 9-3, maybe even, and this is going to drive the people in Alabama crazy, maybe even 8-4.
Yeah.
I just don't think that they're that high and mighty.